So today on the truck, it's time to do the tune-up. So there's a few things I'm going to check. I'm going to check the dwell, which is how long the points stay open. I'm going to check the timing, make sure that we're firing the spark at the right time in relation to when the piston's up and down. The fuel mixture, it only matters at idle, but it makes sure the air fuel is mixing right at idle. And we're going to test vacuum, and I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to test today. So first thing is we're going to test the dwell. I have this dwell meter here. It's ancient, but it works really well, and we're going to use that. And it should be between 20 and 30 on a Ford. So we're gonna try that. The engine has to be running. So I'm gonna fire it up. It really does start that easy. So what I've done, I've disconnected and plugged the vacuum advance. I've got a vacuum gauge hooked up to manifold vacuum, and I've got the dwell meter hooked to positive. To positive on the battery. I'm going to hook the other lead to the coil, the negative side of the coil. Right now the dwell meter is reading about, 2 degrees? So it might be inaccurate by 2 degrees, 2 degrees high. Okay, we're connected. So that's reading at 30, which is probably about 28, which is just fine. So we're not going to sweat that at all. So that looks like it's fine just where it is. You know, I've never tried this, let me put this on there better, the RPM meter on this. Let's see if that works. So it says the tach says I'm about 1,000, and again I think that's a little high. There's no way this is at 1,000. So I think that this meter's old and a little out of tune, but where the dwell is right on. So I'm going to take this off. Don't need this anymore. And I'm going to move over to the timing. Now on the timing, I'm going to shut this down to show you what we need to do for the timing. Now timing, it's referring to when the spark plug fires in relation to where the piston is. You want the spark plug to fire a little bit, a few degrees, depending on the engine, before the actual piston is at the top. So essentially you're starting that combustion chamber explosion before the piston's actually reached its peak. So the way you do that, if you get down into here, right down there, right here, I don't know if you can see it or not. Can you see that all right? Yep. So this is a timing tab. On a Ford, it's on the passenger side. And on the crank, there'll be a mark on Fords that tell you where 0 is, which means right at the top, and then before and after. So I'm going to crank the engine over so you can see that mark. Not yet. Well, I must have just missed it, but I see it's coming up. Okay. So here are these marks on the harmonic balancer right from Ford. We got 30, 20, and I've made a yellow mark at 10. 10 is what I'm looking for here. Some people say it's 6 on a Ford 390. Some people say 10. Some people say 12. I'm going to see how 10 looks. See is the wrong word. I'm going to hear it. So the way that I do this all is with a timing light. This is old school, man. This was, I believe, the last year that you can even use a timing light, because it's a point system where you care. Well, that's not true. It's the last year where you used a dwell setting, but timing, you could continue to use that until engines got computerized. And the way you do that is the light shines down and puts some light on the marks when your number one cylinder, which on a Ford is the passenger side number one. When that fires, this fires. And if you're lined up 10 degrees against the timing tab, you're all set. The engine obviously has to be running for that. So we're going to try that. It's a little bright out for this, but these are super bright, these old timing lights, so it should be fine. How you hook the timing light? Real simple. Positive and negative on the battery, and then it's a number one spark plug. It's got 3 leads. Always make sure this isn't touching the exhaust manifold. I've ruined a couple of timing lights that way. So I'm going to fire it up and check the timing. Now, how do we adjust the timing? Very easily. We turn the distributor cap, because inside the distributor cap is a rotor spinning around firing these plugs. And when we move the cap, we change the relation of these plug wires to the rotor, so we can make it closer or farther apart, which changes the timing. All right, let's take a look. So I'm shining the light right down in here, and hopefully you can see on the harmonic balancer, we're not lined up. That coming through? Oh yeah, yeah, so they're not lined up. So I'm going to turn the distributor. I'm not sure if it's which way I'm going to go. Oh yeah, okay. So let me show you that. See how it's not lined up? I'm turning it, and that's 10 right there. Ooh, just got a little short. Okay. You notice it's not running as good. So that's not necessarily bad, but I'm going to advance it just a little bit by turning it back. Maybe advance it to 12. That smoothened it out quite a bit. So it's about 12, 13 right now. I'm going to try that and see how it goes. So it's relatively in time. Let's check the vacuum. This is a vacuum gauge. It's on bottom of the carburetor vacuum, so close to manifold vacuum. And it's about 18, just over 18. We need this to be able to tune the carburetor. Lots of people tune the carburetor by ear, but this is more effective. So let me grab my screwdriver. And this is an Edelbrock carburetor. This is how you tune it. These are the 2 banks, driver side bank, passenger side bank. And you just turn until you get maximum vacuum out of the engine. I'm going to slow the idle down a little bit. Just a little. Okay. It's easier to tell. So we're down to exactly 18. So let's see if we can get it better. Turn a half a turn at a time. That's actually a little worse. See how it's a little bit under 18 now, clearly under 18. So I'm going to screw it back into where I was, back to 18. A little more. You know, it was close to good where it was. I only cranked it in a little bit. Let's try the left side. I'm going to turn the left side in, my left side in. Didn't do anything. I'm going to back it out. No, that's worse. So these were close. That's still at 18. Really didn't change much. I'm going to keep going on this one. Yeah, that's a little better. That's about, I think, as good as you're going to get right there. Just a hair above 18. So we gained a little bit of vacuum by tuning the carburetor. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check for vacuum leaks. Vacuum leaks, this engine probably doesn't have them, it's running too good. But they can wreak havoc with you trying to tune the engine if you get a vacuum leak. The way you do that, you just take some carb cleaner and you spray around areas that might leak. So hoses and gaskets. And you're going to try not to get it in the carburetor, because that will make it feel like you've got a vacuum leak and you don't. So I'm going to put my hand in front of the carb and I'm going to spray like right there. The engine didn't change. The carb cleaner will change the engine, watch. See that? So if we have a vacuum leak, the engine RPMs are going to change. So there's no vacuum leak with this hose, that's good. Let's try the base gasket. Nothing. I got some in the carburetor there. So I don't see anything wrong there. Try this side. Little bit of issue there. Nothing huge, but a little bit of issue. I may crank the carburetor nuts down just a bit. But really where I'm worried about is this spider web of hoses back here. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it was for emission stuff back in the day. But we got 3 or 4 hoses with bolts in them. That's what I'm worried about. Seems like there might be a little leak there. That one's okay. That's okay. Oh boy, that's not good. Oh man, so we found a vacuum leak right there, a bad one. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take all this nonsense out of here and use vacuum caps. And I'm willing to bet that we'll have more than 18 when we're done. I think that's all I wanted to do right now. I'm going to put the vacuum caps on, then we'll cut back to the video and see how we're doing. So to plug the vacuum leak, this is called a vacuum cap, and it just fits over the fitting. Now the one I took out, not sure I remember where I put it, but it was ridiculous how it was made. There was a hose with a bolt in it, something like this, but the bolt wasn't made for that. It was clearly going to leak no matter what. So I'm going to put this vacuum cap over it. Hopefully I can fit it. This vacuum cap is a little bit small. Yeah, it fits. But better small than big, because you really don't want a vacuum leak. It's terrible for the engine. Okay, well, that one's solved. All right, so let's crank this up and see if it runs better. The vacuum is no better, but it's idling very, very low, because when you plug a vacuum leak, it will lower the idle. So you can tell now that we fixed the vacuum leak. So let's try this. See that? No change. All right. Awesome. So let's pick the idle back up, because this is way too low now. at that, 19. We picked up a full pound of vacuum with plugging that vacuum leak. That is a very big deal. So a tiny little plastic plug made this thing run a whole lot more efficient. It's going to start easier, everything. A couple more places to look for vacuum leaks is here. Nothing. I guess that's it. So, in a nutshell, that's how you tune an old vehicle. Old Ford, old GM. It's a few things: timing, dwell, vacuum leaks, idle, that type of stuff. And you can make a big difference. I mean, this thing ran great before. It's running even better now. I mean, it's really nice. So hopefully that's helpful. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe, because there's going to be a lot more. One other thing that I forgot. When you fix a vacuum leak, it's going to throw off the carb. So I need to check the carb again, and I forgot to do that. So let's see if we can get the carb running with even more vacuum. Yeah, just a hair better. No difference. No, that's not better, that's worse. That's a little worse. So I think just a hair on these is where we need it to be. Yeah, they were out a little too far, as you can imagine, because we were sucking air through that vacuum leak. This thing is running beautiful. Okay. So anyway, that's how you do it. You do these few simple things, your engine's going to run a whole lot better. Okay, we're going to take it for a drive. We just tuned it. Let's see if it's any better. I can tell it's better already. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's way better. These West Coast mirrors aren't that great. They're right in the way of your line of sight. Oh, this is way better. It's great. It must have been pretty far out of tune. Beautiful. Lots more pickup, no more hesitation when you hit the gas. I mean, it was way out of time, obviously. And that vacuum leak didn't help. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, it stalled. If I had to guess why it stalled, I would say the gas filter is plugged or it's out of gas, because the gas gauge doesn't work. Let's see if it will refire. Okay. I think it's out of gas. Okay, we're gonna cut this video, put some gas in it, and get back up the driveway. Okay, we're not getting any fuel through the pump. So we're either out of gas because of this incline, or the line is plugged to the fuel pump. The fuel filter does have some crap in it, quite a bit actually, but it's not plugged. I'm pretty sure I can still blow through it. Oh yeah, it's not plugged at all. Yeah, not at all. So it's probably the line that's plugged, or my fuel pump just decided to quit. So what do? We're so close to home. I'm actually in my driveway. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rig up a fuel line to the filter like this, and I'm just gonna fill the fuel line with gas, and it'll be enough to get me the 30 yards I need to go. Now, don't do this. This is dangerous. It's gasoline. Do not do this. I'm not giving you advice to do it. Don't do it. This line is so long that it'll give me plenty to get up the driveway. I tried putting some in the tank, by the way, but it didn't help. Now the hood's gonna come down when I start moving, so I'm gonna lower the hood myself. To avoid that eventuality. Now this is obviously a little bit lower than the carburetor, so unless we got some kind of vacuum, it's not gonna pull through, but I still think there's enough on the line to get me through. didn't plan on doing that, but the incline was so steep, and I've got one of those shell driveways. It's super slippery. The fuel pump is back pumping again. Yeah, now the fuel pump's pumping. So the fuel pump's pumping now that we got it level. It's got to be there's not enough gas in it, which makes me feel kind of dumb that I didn't have enough in it. But it doesn't have any gas gauge. I cannot get the gas gauge to work yet. So it's an honest mistake, but I'm home. That's what counts. I have a little bit of a mess to clean up here now, but at least I know what the problem was. It is clear though, the idle is a little too low, so I'm going to turn it up just a hair. All right, that's all for today.